Psych. Nice.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome, everyone, and thanks for watching.
Yeah. Hey, it works at the beginning and the end.
It does. It's appreciation.
Yeah. Good to see you. I know we're both fighting colds this week. I got this nice green tea and my Jan Frula Peace Void mug.
Oh, man. That was,
keeping me
you're
good.
you're just dripping in art. I love it. I can never I can never keep up. I just I appreciate that. I'm just drinking whatever this is, La Croix.
Die with the most likes, La Croix.
Yes. Yep. And then we're yeah.
Sweet. Well,
Yeah,
I'm
it's good time.
excited to be back. Haven't seen you in a week.
I know it's been
gonna be a fun one.
It's going to be a fun one. It's been a wild week. That we have new L2s that launched. We have lots of art that came out. More meme coins are going a little bit crazy. Things definitely feel like they're heating up.
Yeah. There's definitely. I think we talked about it last week. There was a beginning of an energy, and that energy is spreading across all these different places. And I think there's just a lot of artists that made art that are excited to show it. And I think I mentioned last week going to the Subjective Festival and seeing a bunch of awesome art. And one of the pieces I got to see was by our guest today, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, well, let's not waste any time then. Our guest today is incredibly talented, starting from photography and going into 3D, modeling, animation, visualizations, and just like to. It's always impressive when someone can shift mediums. And not just shift them, like, oh, I'm going to dabble in, but like really just successfully just hone their crafts and so quickly. It's been really fun to watch our guests do this, and now moving into AI and conversations about what the future kind of holds. But yeah, incredibly impressed by all the work of our guest. And so let's welcome to the show, everybody, Shavonne Wong. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Welcome to Art First. How are you?
I'm great. I mean, like, you just said a bunch of really nice things about me, so like I'm feeling wonderful here.
We're gonna spend the next 30 minutes just saying wonderful things about you, so get used to it.
I like it. That works very well for me.
Yeah. So you've like I said, you started in photography, and I think that if I'm not mistaken, like that shows in your work when you do 3D. Do you feel like that informs your process at all in terms of like understanding, lighting and framing and things like that?
I think very much so. I think even I was surprised just how much of the skills were transferable, but like the light thing was basically the same. The way I pose my model, compose the scene, all of this were all things that I did in real life, and now I was just doing it in the digital realm. And the great thing is that I can change the lighting whenever I want, as opposed to doing it in real life, where it's so tiring to change lighting. Right? I could be like, oh, I want a huge light at the scrim, and be like, because I set it up, I must use it in the work. Yeah. But like, yeah, with 3D, it's just like click, click. Now let's switch that around. So like, I've been enjoying it, but yes, so much of the skill set is transferable. I think if you look at the work side by side, 3D and photography, you can probably see some similarities with the style. Yeah.
Yeah, and so much of 3D is lighting. What I look at as good 3D. It's one of those parts of the process that is undervalued, and having that sense of photography and physical understanding of lighting really shows off, and your work really blends fashion and all this other aspects. How do you normally go about composing a scene? Do you start with a concept, or are you kind of just building it up piece by piece?
Oh, I'm very much someone who builds up piece by piece. Like I never know how the end result will look. And it's always a hopefully nice surprise. And yeah, like I know of like different artists, like Hannah's, the way he works, he has something in his head and he just has to recreate the thing in his head. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Nothing. Is there anything in my head? Just slowly comes out, right? So yeah, it's very, very different from me. I almost like envy the other side where you're just like, oh no, you're just following a blueprint, right? But like, I guess, the grass is greener on the other side always.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've
go
got.
on.
Sorry, you've got. I was just gonna throw a piece up here just to take a look at, because it's really impressive in so many different ways. But like even stuff like this, you're like you said, you're just kind of like feeling it out as you go, in terms, which is amazing, because to have like an eye for composition obviously helps, but like the luxury, I would imagine, of not having to wrangle animals or figure
A
out how
real
to do
tiger.
a real tiger to pull this kind of thing off, even with compositing and doubles and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, like I think very much my work is very inspired by fashion photography. I think a lot of times, even in the 3D work I do, I still go back to the same old like photography inspirations I had. So like it's like Nick Knight, Tim Walker, Bruno Diaz, like a lot of the very popular like photographers. I use them as a lot of references in like the way I compose my scene and all of that. So like I guess when I create the works I do in 3D, like there's definitely that similarity over there, but like the kind of attention I pay onto all these different aspects is still similar. The only difference I would say is that like usually when I'm working in photography, I get to work in a team, and when I work in a team, I get to work with like incredible makeup artists, wonderful models, like fantastic stylists, just like surround myself with like hugely talented and wonderful people, right? The problem is like doing it 3D is now I get to make all the decisions, and I realize that there are some decisions I'd rather have someone else make, but like, all right, fine, I guess I'll make some clothes in 3D. So like, it's a bit of a pro and con. I definitely do miss working in teams such that like there's good back and forth. But I guess pros and cons here.
Yeah. And
Go ahead,
I was
Bryan.
gonna say you're I'm having trouble streaming to X. You're the work you do. You're self-taught, correct?
Mm.
How did you start when it comes to being self-taught? Where did you begin? Like, what kind of tutorials were you looking at? How did you? Because to get to this is such an advanced spot to be, in my opinion. How did you get there? Like, what would you recommend to artists that are trying to self-teach?
There's a lot of crying and a lot of like overeating on snacks, so that's part of the process. But I mean, like, so I pivoted to 3D during 2020 because I figured, well, I can't leave the house anyway, and I can't work with models. I'll make my own. So that's why I pivoted into 3D, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna spend this whole time learning it. And turns out you're very productive if you never ever leave the house. So I just watched way more tutorials than I ever thought I would in my lifetime. And then I just kind of went from there. Like, so for Blender, the most popular tutorial is the donut tutorial.
Yep.
That's kind of like where majority people start in Blender in 3D. So like I started from there. Like the first thing I ever created on Blender was a donut, pink color, basically exactly like the tutorial was gonna be. And I guess from there on, I was like, humans, I want to make humans. And then that direction. I would have to say, like, majority was very painful. It was only until like and 2020 where I was at the stage where I was like, okay, they don't look like shit anymore. Like there's a semblance of human here. So it definitely took a lot of time, a lot of like back and forth, a lot of troubleshooting. But eventually I got there. It's just, yeah, a lot of time.
It makes sense. I mean, if so and I apologize right now, just I think we're experiencing some kind of like wonderful hiccup where
There's
for
an
some
issue with the X streaming, but we're still streaming to
we're
YouTube,
still streaming on
so this will
YouTube.
all be preserved, so it's not a huge deal.
Yeah. That's just the fun of a live show.
Right.
Maybe I can get like $50 back. But I think it's interesting. If when are you also hand making like textures, or like how are you doing that? Because everything looks really, really, some of your work is hyper real and some of your work is closer to real. But I also see some like imperfections, which help things obviously feel more real when nothing is perfect even in real life. Like, are you like creating like texture maps, or what's that process like? Because these are really detailed characters that hold up like at close detail.
So I would say for like most of the times in a scene for anything that's non-human, I kind of just download like models and textures for it. For the humans, it is really interesting because when I used to do fashion photography, we remove imperfections, and then moving to 3D and trying to create a human, I'm like adding imperfections. And like I remember back in 2020, I was like reaching a stage, I was just adding way too much imperfection. I was trying to figure out like where even is the balance of a normal human face. So like it took a lot of back and forth and like trying to change how I see a human face, because I think human faces are specifically more difficult just because all humans are used to human faces. Like we know what a human face is like. We've met many human faces, and if you see a human face that looks a bit off, you're like, I don't know why it's off, but something's a little bit off there. And like
Right.
that hurdle, the uncanny valley is the hardest to jump across, right? So like, yeah, it definitely took a lot of time, like a lot of back and forth. And I think like for me, looking back at my older work, I'm like, oh, there's so much to improve, right? But I guess kind of just have to go along with the way and put things out there.
Right, and
Yeah.
you have to go from A to B to get there, and in the moment things, that's a struggle of any artist in any medium, I think, in terms of like being able to get your vision across the way that you see it, and then not and fighting the reality of just not being where you want to be,
Yeah.
but still making the thing and going forward with it, knowing that like someone else might say it's amazing, and then that's, I think, one of those things that drives us, is that we're like, it's not what I really want it to be, because I'm running up against the limitations of what I'm capable of. But
Yeah.
that's cool to see, looking back, to see how it's all going.
No, yeah, exactly. I mean, like the project you have up right now, Love is Love. Now when I look at it, I'm like, oh, I definitely see things I could have improved on it. But the thing is, if I had spent the last 3 years working on this project, I would have not learned everything I've learned along the way doing
Yeah.
other things, right? So I think that's it, in the sense that with artists, we are often perfectionists, but like eventually you kind of have to learn how to let go and move on and learn more things from there. And then you can look back and be like, oh, that's what I could have done. But like you need to learn things from the other paths you go for. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think with this project too, well, from a technical thing, yeah, of course, it's always weird to go back and judge your quality earlier, but this was a really novel mechanic to it too. The minting process, you had to kind of make a choice about the genders that would be combined, even though there was still a randomness of what the person would look like. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I figured like it kind of is in real life, right? Like you know your sexuality, but you don't really know who that other person might be. So it's almost like a little like random lottery thingy. Like, and I think for me, like through my own like experience with relationships and my husband and the marriage I have, is that like people are not bliss, right? Like you don't really plan for the people who you want in your life. They just kind of appear, and then you're connected, and then they're your people, right? They're your
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that
That's
project was collected by Idris Elba, right?
Yes,
That
like
was
that is
awesome.
still like the most insane thing that has ever happened to me.
that's amazing, though. I mean, that's that I was that's one of the benefits of both being incredibly good at what you do, having a good vision, and then this space that we're all in, that has really kind of spread across the world, digital art in ways that we hadn't seen before. Um, Your okay. So speaking of people, or the concept of people, your latest project is incredibly fascinating. So I'm gonna let you talk about it. But this is Ava, who is not just a 3D model or a character, but you're trying to really push the boundaries of what an experience with AI could look like, in terms of like what a human experience actually is. And that, like, It just blows my mind, and it's gorgeous. But I would love for you to kind of like explain the project and like how you're doing this, because it seems like
Sure.
magic.
So firstly, have you guys watched Black Mirror?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
watched quite a bit.
I assume most people in the space have watched Black Mirror,
Fantastic.
and so very rudely, the episode I'm talking about was 10 years ago.
That's
And
crazy.
yeah, crazy. And so in that episode, it showed this, it featured this widow who just lost a husband in a car crash. And she was offered this opportunity to have him back in a clone version that has all his data uploaded into it. And I remember when I first saw it, I thought like, okay, it's really fascinating, kind of creepy, but okay, probably still somewhat far-fetched because this was 10 years ago. But in the recent years, I started seeing more and more grief tech pop up, right? That's the term. And I've seen like the Taiwanese musician who brought his dead daughter back to life to sing happy birthday to her mom. Beautiful, creepy. And then there's also the video of the South Korean mom who got to see her deceased daughter in VR, right? And that was just heartbreaking. And so like, yeah, I started to see these things pop up. Like, is that something you guys have noticed too, like grief tech?
I
Yeah.
Grief tech is that honestly is the first time I'm hearing that as a term, which is fascinating. I remember the episode that you're talking about on Black Mirror, which was, I mean, every episode you sit there and it stews with you and you think of all these possibilities. But I hadn't seen the other examples of putting AI, putting someone's, their daughter or some version of their daughter into tech. Wow.
It
Yeah.
was the Kardashians made a
Yes.
hologram of their dead father
Yes.
that
Oh, really?
talked to them
Yes.
as a
Yes.
gift.
What do you get the person?
It's like
Yeah.
the person passed away. We'll get that.
Who has access to everything? Well, can you bring someone back from the dead? I mean, but that's interesting. Like, I forget who posed this the other day, either on Twitter or in a group chat. The concept of uploading, essentially your consciousness, or someone's consciousness as a result of scraping. If you can scrape the whole web for stuff to make, AI now, you just localize that scraping and everything that some person has ever written, everything they've ever, all their photos, all their videos,
Yep. Yep.
sound, audio, all of it could be synthesized into an AI of that single individual.
Yep. And this is something that I think in the future generation will all have that access because they will have all so much media that's already going to be posted online of them. Like perhaps our parents, like, oh, you want to get a video of them, audio recording of them. That's more difficult, right? But I think because over the last few years, my family and my husband both had health scares. It made me realize that if I was offered this exact opportunity, I am not sure that I am able to make a choice that I would think that's healthy for me, right? And to me that was strange because I very much see like this is the future we're going into, but I don't think that I am suitable for that future. Yes, yeah. What do you think about that?
I don't know if I would want my consciousness to be represented by
But
me.
what if someone you love passed away? And like we're not even talking
Yeah,
about
no, you're
consciousness
right.
right now.
No,
Right
no, fair. Just like
Yeah, yeah.
a facsimile of them, right?
Yeah,
Like someone
yeah.
that
It's
something
not them at all.
it's not them, but I don't think I would
It
want it.
sounds like them.
I don't think I
Oh, I
would
think
want
it'll
it.
be.
I'm not saying it won't be a
very
thing.
addictive. I mean, we're already addicted to nostalgia,
Yeah.
and I think that is the deepest form of it. Which is, I'm thinking about it now that I have a new child. I'm shooting spatial videos of her as a baby, and even now I can look back at like 4 months ago and see a tinier version of her in a three-dimensional space, and it's very similar to that like sad stuff in Minority Report where he's like looking at holograms of his son. So I can totally see the appeal, and I think we're going to see this grief tech stuff really take over in kind of elderly homes as just a way for people to live out their final days in this beautiful euphoria of whatever they want to experience. So I don't see it as necessarily a bad thing. It could be used for bad. You could pump a lot of false memories to somebody to change their opinion. But I think as a coping mechanism, if it brings people joy, as long as it doesn't, the thing I worry is we could get to a point where we become so addicted to the false reality that people won't take the headsets off and they'll want to live in this sunny world forever. And that's the fine line of it.
Yeah. I think for me, I think for me, I imagine myself as somebody who would just choose a delusion very easily. And that is a worrying thought, right? So I guess for me, the reason why I wanted to do this project was, firstly, I wanted to learn more about AI. I figured if I learn more about the technology itself, it removes the mystic, it removes that magic. I get a peek behind the curtains, and maybe without that magical appeal to me, I am able to say no. And with that in mind, I guess, like, for me, going into this, I was like, okay, maybe we should all learn together, like, how we think about AI. Because the research I have done has shown that AI companions, they do provide, like, help with people with loneliness. Oh, Adam disappeared. And
No,
hi.
no, I'm here. I'll be part of a live show is, and I was trying to be discreet about it. Part of a live show is things happen, and I am slowly dying here. I'm losing power, and I need to put the power back on. And so
Go do your thing.
not call attention to it.
Oh, I see. So moving on.
Sorry about
nothing
that. So sorry.
happened.
Yes, nothing happened.
Talking about Eva and
Talking about Eva. Yeah, so I guess the goal is really that I wanted to learn, and I figured making everybody learn with me would be a faster way of learning it. And so what I did is I created my own AI companion, and I'm putting her out in the world. There's a conversational bot version, and then there's a visual representation, which is what you see right now, and what I've created for her. And with the conversational bot version, she's basically a chatbot that people will have access to, and the participants will chat with her, and they'll be provided anonymity. So hopefully, in that safety, they will feel like they're able to talk about the things that they might not want to talk to a human about, from the fear of judgment, or just, I'm kind of just open to seeing what people use it for. Because on the other end, all these conversations could be used as content that goes onto an Instagram account, and the Instagram account acts as a diary about her conversations that she has with people. And I think that would be really interesting way for us to all see how society as a whole views AI, thinks about AI, and treats AI. So yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I got to try it out a little bit in New York, and there's the chat bot, and we got to have this kind of conversation. The thing I was kind of curious about, if you start talking to Eva, will that chat remember a conversation from a month before and weave that into a current conversation, or is it mostly just a reacting to the current thing?
So for the demo bot that goes on to, like, the different installations on locations, like, that one has no memory, because I figured everybody wants a fresh slate to try talking to Eva.
Yeah.
But once the official bot goes live, which is still not yet, all the people who have applied to be participants, they will be contacted, given them access, and from then on, they will be given an account where there will be memory that is allocated to it. So
there'll
from
be
then
mini
on,
brains formed for each person.
exactly,
Huh.
and she will be able to remember all those conversations.
Interesting. Even though they're anonymous, it's not tracking data.
Yes.
Is there?
Can I have her file my taxes for me?
I don't think you want to do that.
No, that's awesome. That's gonna be fun. And yeah, I love the social media component. The Instagram, everyone should go follow it, because you've kind of taken the conversations and made her interact in the world with what she's learning, and so she's becoming multi-dimensional in that way.
Yeah, I think it's been fun using Instagram for this. I mean, like, obviously, where I became an artist and took on the role as an artist is in the Web3 space, the NFT space. But specifically for this project, because I feel like the target audience shouldn't be the Web3 space, mainly because we are chronically online, and so we probably know where AI is at most of the time, as opposed to most people who have a life. They probably unsure how AI looks, how AI talks, and I think giving them that exposure hopefully also makes them think about that, right? Because to me, it's very much like Black Mirror. What I enjoy about art, what I enjoy about entertainment is the ability to bring very complex topics down into a way that you can now converse about it. Like when we watch Black Mirror, we see the different scenarios that happen. We're like, oh, how would you behave? How would I behave? As opposed to be like, so think about using an AI companion. What do you think you would do if you ever used it, right? I feel like this is just an easier, accessible way for people to understand, oh, this is where accessible AI is currently at, and what can they can do with it. So yeah, that's the Instagram.
That's very cool. I mean, I imagine eventually people will try to ruin it like they do any other chat bot. see what they can make her say and do. But that's kind of the fun of the chaos of AI. With these type of AI images, what are you using to create that?
So for these images, a lot of them are done with Flux using Stable Diffusion or Comfy UI, or sometimes Midjourney.
Oh, cool. How are in that? Which one do you find better for keeping a consistent character face?
Consistent
Getting with that
characters.
across the board.
So consistent character, I'm unable to use Midjourney for that because I created her in 3D, rendered a whole bunch of images of her from different angles and different lighting, and then I trained it as a LoRa for Flux. And so now I'm using Flux to generate the exact face again and again.
Awesome.
Smart.
With faces, there's always a bit like inconsistency. So I'm like taking it with whatever suits it enough to feel like it's the same person.
Right.
But yeah, usually it works pretty well.
Do you ever find sort of like a degradation effect if you go down and down using like the each iteration, or do you find yourself like starting always sort of like from the base model so that you have a better shot at consistency?
Yeah, I always use the base model for it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's really cool. I think that's something
This photo is actually funny because this photo is in front of Art Science Museum in Singapore, and the the way this photo came about is I had to take a selfie of me in front of it, and then I had to wear a wig, and then I had to blend her face into it, and
Oh wow!
and then regenerate
Okay.
some hair to make it look good. So like now she looks like she's really there, but it was originally me.
Wow.
that's really interesting. I mean, that's what you're doing here with AI is, most people would probably look at this and assume it's a prompt, but you're creating so many steps that most people that are AI artists don't know how to do, whether it's model creation and all these other different aspects. So yeah, I think that's one of the things that I like about having these talks is when you're just looking at outputs with AI, it's really tough to know what goes into it.
Yeah. With her, I definitely try to put in quite a bit of effort to also just make every image like somewhat interesting and different from the rest. Because like it's really interesting. Mainly because like when you look at Instagram right now, everything's so curated, everything's so well designed and selected, right? So for her, like for me, it's like okay, I want to portray a version of her where she knows what she's doing. Everything's put together, right? So I need the aesthetic of the Instagram to look good, and also, I mean, I'm an artist. I want the aesthetic to look good, full stop. So like I think in this project, like it's still a collab with AI and I. Even the conversation that get posted is still a collaboration because, to be honest, like most conversations are really boring. most conversations don't go beyond greetings. So like nobody wants to see that on Instagram. So like I still have to curate and choose the more interesting ones.
I was going to ask about that. That was going to be my next question in terms of like the captions that are happening here and how that was all being generated. But that kind of answers that. I also think it's really compelling from a story perspective how you are not just putting out one image of her for each of these. You're putting out a vignette. You're putting out like
It's like a mood board.
Exactly. It's sort of like you're literally telling a story of an experience and artfully so. Like, look at that. Do you find it what are your thoughts on the fact that you started with a 3D model and now moving into like having AI use that as reference, just knowing how long it takes to do 3D animation and 3D textures and all that, and then giving it to AI, and within a few seconds, you've got something like this. Obviously not this specific because I know that you do a lot of work, but like there's a big jump in terms of quality and execution from what we're usually able to do versus what AI is able to do. How have you kind of like I don't know, come to terms with that, or like figure that into your process?
I mean, I guess for me, I'm fairly like medium agnostic. Like I don't really care what medium I use. I'm just happy to end up with the results I want. So for me, it's like, okay, like I knew I wanted to create a character for this, and like obviously she shouldn't be a real person. So I was like, the easiest way for me to control specifically how I want her to look is to actually create her on my own, right? So I mean, part of it is probably just being a control freak, but like I think, yeah, I just wanted to also really play a part on like how she looks, how she ends up, right? Like she's my creation of sorts, and then running it through like AI and having that come off results. To be fair, the biggest difference between like using AI and using 3D is like the lack of control, because like I will put her through like comfy UI and use Flux, be using her LoRa, but like I'll be still prompting the kind of like images that what I want it to appear, and like with AI they don't always listen very well sometimes, so it's a lot of like adjusting. And I guess for me overall, like I think AI is a very contentious topic, especially generative AI. And I think for myself, I do think that there are ethical issues because it is proven to have stolen work in it, full stop. So like I'm not trying to play like mental gymnastics on it. I think for me, I admit that I choose to prioritize the message in my project just over the concerns. Yeah, like I'm not going trying to justify it or go a roundabout way. I think everybody makes compromises in their lives. I'm also not vegan, so I clearly make compromises in my life. And so yeah, like for me, I am just choosing to use this flawed tool, but like in a way that I am happy with and still have contributed enough to the end result. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that makes sense. Acknowledging, what it is and how it's being used, and also just I think how much art and intention of your own that you're able to put into it, right? Versus just saying, that a woman red hair, like the way you would write this, versus okay, I made a model and I have like a concept, and I'm you're not just putting it in and getting out one result. Like there's a lot of intention behind it, which again, like Brian said, it's good, good to do these kinds of talks because it helps break down like perceived barriers, when it comes to just someone who's just just scrolling and checking out a
Yeah,
feed.
yeah. I think also one interesting point on her was that I wanted her to have a mixed look, because like coming from Singapore, when I used to work in the fashion advertising industry, like a lot of times clients went for mixed models because they go for a wider range of audience. So for me, I was like,
Universal
okay,
appeal, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like the goal for me on this project is for universal appeal to attract as many people to join this project as much as possible. People have asked me like, oh, why don't you look like super Asian? Because you're Asian, you should represent. And like for me, it's like, okay, that's not the goal of this project. The goal of this and her look is to expand the project as far as possible, right? So for her, she actually has a mixed look, which is really interesting because whenever I put her face through any of the video AI, she either goes super Asian or she goes super white, right? And it's really hard to control because like in the databases, there's just lesser Eurasians, I guess. Like that's just not the main look that is gone for, right? So like it always ends up tweaking her features quite a bit, but fun part of the project to figure out.
Yeah, that is interesting. And obviously working with whatever bias exists in the world and is already transformed into the bias, or added to the bias of AI. Um, yeah, to be able to really get what you want out of it, you know, to overcome those things.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
really
yeah.
cool. It's a really cool project. Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm also excited to see if you're able to push it one day to where you can get it to create prompts for the images, so that it's almost like letting Eva decide her
Like
own photo.
autonomously.
Yeah, or autonomously would be amazing, but even just like the idea of asking her, to describe a photo that she would be
Oh,
in.
I do often go to a chatbot and be like, this is the prompt, like so like this is the like basically I go through like the conversations and be like, okay, like maybe write a post about this topic. Like you've mentioned that, so AI is very good at pattern recognition, right? So it's like it can recognize like, oh, a lot of people come to me when they're saying they're lonely, or they are using me like a tour guide in Singapore when I'm at the museum. And from there, I'm like, okay, write a post about it, and then it writes a post, and I kind of tweak it a little bit to make it sound better. And then from there on, I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna create a photo essay about this. Come up with like a few ideas on like what the images could look like. It doesn't have to be literal, so like it can be more abstract, and then it just spits out a bunch, and I just, all right, let's see what kind of images I can create on Midjourney with those for the ones that don't have her in it.
That's really cool. That's awesome. Do you see, just to kind of like finish this out, do you see yourself moving more into, now that you've been playing with like, this kind of AI, blending this reality, do you see yourself being led down that path more in the future? Or do you think you'll also go back into making more like, traditional 3D projects? Or
I think for me again, because I'm quite medium agnostic, it's more of like what's the next project I have in mind, and what does it require, what tools does it need. Hopefully it doesn't need me to learn more tools, but like if it needs me to learn it, then I will go and learn it. So yeah, like to me it's just like they're all things I can play with. It's and as technology gets better, then more tools are created. You just gotta learn it too.
That's cool. All right. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to whatever comes next. And hopefully, like I missed it when it was at Subjective. I wasn't able to go, but hopefully I'll get to mess around at some point.
Yes. The chatbot will come out live soon. So like the best way to apply is through a website. You can apply to participate, and once you apply to participate, you're basically in a list that I will inform when the chatbot is properly officially live.
Okay. Very cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So then I guess there's no better time than now to take a look at other art from other artists. See what I'm talking about? Pretty stellar segue, because it totally had nothing to do with anything.
We can apply our recommendations.
There it is.
To the audience.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys, we did it. I feel like we nailed that one. We stuck the landing. Let's do a little show and tell. Here we go.
Let's go.
All right.
Wait, can you hear me?
Yes. Nope, never mind. You're still.
No, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, no, good.
We got bubble gum and duct tape in this show.
Yeah.
Your mic looks way too fancy and taking up too much of the frame to be doing this to you.
I think I have too many windows open.
Okay.
It's every tab on the internet is open right now.
It's because when we go to that interstitial, Adam's playing the organ off to the side, and that competes with the audio wires.
Look, I thought I had to do it live. That's part of the live show, Bryan.
Makes sense to me.
Well, on the side, he plays organ at the Mets stadium.
If I don't do it, no one will. All right, so here we go. This is the part of the show where each of us has picked 3 different artists that we think are awesome. We've either collected work for them, or we just think they're dope and they deserve a bigger spotlight. So we will do that at the end of the show when we are all done on our Twitter account, Art First Show. We have a recap where we show all the stuff that we've discussed. I was trying to avoid the word show on the show. So here we go. Shavonne, we will start with you with a piece that you picked that I thought was really cool that I had not seen before. This is negative automatic thoughts. I didn't understand it until I clicked, and then it was like, oh, this is cool. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it? I'll click away.
So this artist, I actually know him in Singapore. I got to meet him through NFT Asia, and I've always like followed his works around. But like I think this piece, it really caught my attention because it just feels like the way your brain works, where you just like you have a negative thought, and you're like you shush it away, and then like it just comes back up immediately. You're just like the fuck, I just spent so much effort shushing the last thought away. And so like when I was using this, I was like, oh, like I relate to it. It somehow uses code, but like it uses code in a way that like explains the way I feel, the way my brain can go sometime, right? And I thought that was really special. So that's why I chose this piece.
How cool is that? It's each thought is a different negative thought and changes the color, and then you literally click this button to get rid of. So everyone has abandoned me. And then it's like, yep, here's the next negative thought. I thought it was brilliant. I hadn't seen anything like it before.
It's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's a little triggering, but because you read these and you're like, oh, damn,
It's too relatable.
it's so relatable. I'm better.
Someone's like me, but
I'm better
like
than that.
I'm not feeling great.
Then I can just go,
It's just a really strong concept. I like that it changes colors after a little while to keep it exciting.
Yeah.
This is great. Also, shout out to the NFT Asia Discord. I haven't been there in a long time, but such a fun place and so many cool people.
Which is your if not the founder, one of the co-founders of NFT
Co-founder. Yeah.
But-
so like the founder is Clara, and I don't want the burden of.
And Clara's amazing, but yes, essentially, like the fact that you both saw a need and then created a whole community, which is amazing.
To be fair, when I told Clara she opened it up, it's because I was like, there's a lot of us. We should make friends with other Asians.
100% your idea. Everything you've done, it's just you. We get it. Clara's barely involved.
No.
Just kidding. Very cool. All right, Bryan
Good
Brinkman.
share.
We're gonna go to you next with something that I don't know how to show. If this worked or not.
I don't remember what I put in.
So this is the Rare Pepe minting.
Yeah. So click the dot.
Miner. I've clicked the dot, Bryan, and I've waited.
Okay. And you see that mining in the bottom corner going up?
It's very cool. Tell us about it.
This is a piece by Joe Looney, who is the creator of the Rare Pepe wallet. Real OG of the Rare Pepe, is one of the earliest, I would say, NFT artists in the space. Oh, you refreshed it. You
Is that clicking again?
Yeah. So what it's doing, it's a dynamic NFT as part of the notable Pepe's drop, which they're dropping awesome stuff. I think Jake Fried and Die with the Most Likes are there. So there's one.
There we
So
go.
what it's doing is it's mining wallets. It's creating wallets and looking for any of them that have vanity words, whether it's fake, rare, or Pepe, and then giving you the seed phrase so that you can go have that cool vanity wallet. So you can go own this wallet that says fake. And this is all in real time generating wallets for you to use. I just think it's a really wild piece of art.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that these were fresh wallets with seed phrases as art.
That's a crypto artist.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so if you want to own, you don't even have to own this NFT to press the button and mine these things. But if you ever wanted a Rare Pepe wallet with the word Pepe in it, you can probably get it if you just let this run a little bit.
And then I guess in theory, if you did this privately and not on a live stream.
There's Dank.
That's so cool. That's so nerdy and cool. I love that. So then in theory, you could do this privately, even without owning it, I suppose, right? And then go ahead and copy the seed phrase, and then have
go to Rare Pepe Wallet's website and import it.
And nobody will have access to it, and just don't take a picture of it.
I feel like this is one of those like really drunk ideas, and you're like, what if we create with the words, and you're there like, yes, that's what we need to do.
Oh, that one's got
Love
rare
it.
in it.
Rare.
So
This
it's
is
got a
very
few
cool.
different words. Just a wild piece.
Yeah.
Shout out to Joe Looney, one of the most OGs.
That-
Coming with something that is unlike anything I've seen. There you go. Oh, there's a Pepe.
Yes.
Someone watching can get the Pepe.
We got a
one.
Pepe.
But we all know the seed phrase now.
There it is. This is officially good stuff.
It's good stuff.
Love that. All right, man. Let's keep it moving. I'm gonna let this keep running. Okay. All right. I found this piece on Exchange Art, which has been a place I really enjoyed just going and looking for art that I have not seen before. Last Breath. Ruben Salvo. I don't know them, but I just this piece was striking. It caught my eye. I love the colors. I love the the cutaway, seeing inside. Just the concept of Last Breath, and all of this was just really, really gorgeous. So I thought, why not share it out?
That is really cool.
It's so funny because like my first look, I was like, oh, it's a guy, and I was like, wait, no, it's a
I don't think it's a
woman.
guy.
She's got a boob there.
It does.
The flesh is on the bottom layer, which is kind of funky and fun. It gives off Warhol from like the kind of the pop colors of it.
It does feel very screen printed.
Very cool, but I like all the textures. There's like a real drip of paint down the middle. It's a beautiful piece.
Yeah, and I believe it's available. So for anybody watching,
There you go.
very cool. All right, throwing it back to Shavonne. Here we go. This piece right here, which I believe, David Lisser, Anthem #1. Very pretty.
Like David is from the collective, the artist collective I'm in, Bloom.
Bloom Collective,
and I've always admired his work, and I think like meeting him in person, he's just like, oh, like he's just this very, very wholesome British man. like all the stereotypes of like a British man in my head, she's like, it's David, that's cool. And like, so I don't know, with the works that he does, is to me it's also like a lot of them. So previously he did a lot of meat, but now he's going to flowers, he's going into all this like Gaussian splattering where you get to see like all the different anyway details, but like I just love his work, and I feel like his work has that very interesting, wholesome, but like nostalgic vibe to it. I've always just enjoyed looking at his work. Yeah.
Is this a real photograph?
No. This 3D.
It's 3D.
Oh, it's 3D. Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Okay.
Right.
That is really awesome. Wow.
I was going to say,
So-
how did they
it's
get
so
the
pretty.
pieces back together?
Yeah. But yeah, I
That's
really
a
love
great
this
piece. I like that there's a broken piece of glass in kind of the bottom middle that looks like a flower too.
That looks, like that caught my eye too. I wonder if they, in terms of process, which I doubt we would know, but I wonder if they use some sort of physics engine, to shatter it,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Probably.
and then from there like handpick what they use. Really cool. I like how subtle it is. I like the colors are not, when you think of flowers, but they're not
Yeah.
vibrant and
Yeah. Like I would say, like a lot of David's like more recent work are definitely like it feels more on the subtle vibe. He
Mhm.
does. It's not the kind of work that we usually see on Twitter that gets a lot of attention. Where it's just like like ta-da, look at this thing, right? His work, like you kind of got to spend time with it. Like there's this piece that he did for the optimism competition, and it was about I think a flower that he found with a notebook from his grandma. Sorry if I'm butchering the story, but like he if you watch the video itself, it showed the flower that he's 3D scanned, and he was just reading out the whatever that was in the grandma's book. I am so butchering the story, but I thought it was really sweet and very wholesome. I loved it. So yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome. And yeah, that optimism contest was wild. Congratulations again. You did. You were in the top.
Oh yeah.
The tippy top. It was incredibly impressive piece that I should have had queued up, but I don't. But gorgeous work.
It's okay. People will be able to find it if they go on Twitter and search a lot. Scroll really, really far. You'll get there.
We'll get there. All right, Bryan, let's keep moving. Here's a piece that you have chosen to share. What do we got here? Number 38.
So this is a generative
wow.
piece
Oh, wow.
by
Code.
Shaderism that is minting on Highlight right now. And I just thought this was a really beautiful series. It's all these portraitures done with these keyboard keys.
Wow.
And it's just really pretty. Yeah, if you click in, you can probably see other examples, but just a really strong generative project. That I think it's on base.
Whoa.
Wow, that's so cool.
Look
Like
at that.
I don't know how generative artists do it. Like for me, I'm just so much on the like I just lack the logic side that's needed to be a generative artist. Like all these tech wizards like coding away, like making stuff like this insane.
That's the beauty of the space. Is it's so multidimensional in terms of what kind of art we get to see
Yeah.
every day. I love this.
I mean, this looks like it's using some sort of 3D models, so I don't know how it's made, but it's got 3D model with a light thing that's then dictating this depth map or something. So I bet you could figure it out, Shavonne. The fact that you figured out how to do all this 3D stuff in 4 years, I bet you could like learn generative art in like 6 months.
For real.
Yeah, it requires coding though. So like I actually
Yeah,
did
but
learn a
you
bit of
can use AI
programming
to
in
do the
school.
coding.
No, you can just use AI to code it. That's what everyone's doing.
It's true. Yeah, so like the funny thing is I did learn a little bit of programming in school, and what I learned and got out of school was that if I ever need to do programming, I need to hire somebody.
Yeah. I've learned that too.
Very cool, man. All right, I'll keep it moving. Here is a piece that I don't own, but I think is fantastic. Is an artist who recently was onboarded into Super Rare, Jose Narciso. And I apologize if I didn't say it correctly, but I'm Beyond Oblivion, and this is based on a photograph from his family, and it's a painting, and it's a gigantic painting. In real life, this is like wall size, like giant wall photo painting, and his work is really striking. And I don't know, I think it was Paloma who shared out his work, and he was he showed up in my feed as somebody who just made it on the Super Rare, and I hadn't seen his work before, and it was an instant follow, and I was just like blown away by all his work.
It's very cool.
Yeah, definitely worth watch.
A lot going on. That's very cool.
It definitely pops.
I like the tiles. I like the floor checker, and then I like just the weird blue and pink. It's like bubblegum people.
I like that the perspective is almost very strange, right?
It's very flat.
Yeah, but the lady in front exceeds out of the frame. Like it's really cool.
Yeah.
and textures, so many textures going on in here. It's just it's a lot of fun.
It's like almost like watercolory. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. Let's see. We're gonna go back for the final three. Shavonne, this piece right here is just gorgeous. Gorgeous piece. I've seen this one before. But yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about?
I mean, like I don't really know that much.
Just no more about like what you like.
But I like like
why you chose the piece, not how it how you think it was made. Sources of joy.
So like Joyce, I've known her like on Twitter for a bit. I follow her work for quite a bit now, and like I've always loved it. I always found the way she animates like to be very beautiful, very flowy. I love the lighting she has, the color she has. So like I just thought this one was just a really striking, aesthetically beautiful piece, and I was like, I like it. Actually, to be fair, I kind of just I went to a website. I'm like, I like it. Oh, what should I choose? I guess I should only choose one. All right, let's go with this one.
No, but and that's as good a reason to pick something for this as any, because it's cool and you like it. And I feel like every time she's had a pinned post up for a while, and it's such a powerful piece on Twitter. This piece right here,
Mm-mm-mm.
just
I was
Just-
trying to look for that piece, but
it's
I
so
couldn't.
good.
I was like, where is it? Oh well, never mind then.
Yeah, some of the fluid animations remind me of some of the work featured by the Mess, another artist who we've like shown on the show a bunch of times. That sort of like really fluid animation of shapes and fire and liquid. Really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I think like what specifically I also like about Joy's work is the combination of that very 2D vibe with the 3D vibe, but blends
Yeah.
in such a really nice way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I feel like such an interesting style.
But you got this really cute characters in there too.
Yeah, I like the little tomato on the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yes. I'm gonna toss a little good stuff onto this one.
Sprinkle that good stuff.
Sprinkle it on. Brian, we have two more. Brian, you chose this piece by Hayden Clay,
Yeah,
Strange
shout out
Clouds, number 215. Distinct,
Yeah,
very
so-
cool.
I minted this back in the day, and then I picked this one up this week just because, one, Hayden's crushing it right now. I feel like he's one of the breakout artists of this year, in my opinion. This came out, I think, in January before he started hitting that momentum, and it's an interesting generative project that has all these 3D clouds. Obviously, I love clouds and stuff like that, so I was drawn to it. But then also just it's a great example of an artist that like this struggled to mint at the time, and he was kind of hitting these roadblocks, but then he persevered and hit. Now every drop he's doing is selling out, and he's doing great. And just it's a great example for other artists in the space that might be struggling through this momentum right now. Just because something doesn't necessarily sell immediately doesn't mean you should slow down the momentum. And I think people are going to go back to this project more and more as a really wonderful way to collect Hayden's work, because mostly he's just doing kind of small editions and one-of-ones now. So
That's awesome.
But people that don't know his work, it's mostly like suburban, grassy scenes that are surrealism, which are really wonderful.
Yeah, that's really cool, man, and a good lesson also. And also, it's always fun when an artist does kind of hit a stride and starts to sell stuff out, but then still has some pieces that people didn't know about that were like just still open. There's always that little like sweet spot where if an artist is blowing up and doing well, and they still have with a newer collection, and they still have some older works that are still out there, and then collectors get to come in and swoop in and be like, oh, sweet, I can still snag that piece,
We
That's
all
right.
have some weird stuff hiding out there. I mean, so I had a 2020 Rareable edition resell this week that someone dug
Wow.
up, and it's just like, oh man,
People are digging,
That's-
man.
that stuff's out there.
It's that very cool.
That's quite some digging. Damn.
Yeah. Very cool. I'm gonna do. All right, so I'm gonna show a piece, and then I'm gonna talk about one more piece after that, a little extra bonus. So this piece here,
Yeah.
Tormius, Columbus is his newest work, just phenomenal. Big fan, friend for years. And it's great to see new work from them. Just so much intention poured into this, so much detail and life. I will click this because I believe Super Rare now can let me zoom in.
What?
Hello,
Oh,
new
Shout out
features.
It's
Super Rare.
twin.
Dude, shout out Super Rare, finally giving me what I need to do properly on this show.
Yeah,
Look at that. Here we go.
amazing.
But it is really great to be able to do that. And then just
Definitely.
directly in browser.
That's huge.
Finally, and it's
Perfect
like
for this piece too.
it is right. Look at this. Oh, look at those juicy details.
I love Tormius's work.
And I think
It's so interesting because when you have it zoomed up like that and you're just moving around, you're just like, where did his brain go here? Where did his brain go there? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's so interesting.
it really is. And I feel like-
it reminds me of like the neural networks of AI, and you're like, if you go into this corner, like all of them blends into this image, but like here you're just like, oh, this is his brain has decided here, this is where this thing's happened.
I love this. I love this little guy. I didn't even see. This is really
A llama.
llama, dog
A
type
dog.
thing. It kind of reminds me, obviously different style, but like that sort of high detail approach, like what Defaced is doing, or
Yeah.
known for. And again, this all looks like vector.
There's a crocodile there.
Yep, clean lines, abstract. There's also like a kind of like a Picasso Guernica vibe going on in here too.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Just very much
Fancy.
appreciate this piece. Look at that. And consistently just feels like them.
Yeah.
Which is really cool to see. So I wanted to share that. And then as a quick little side bonus thing going on here, I wanted to spotlight a collaboration that I'm involved in. But there's I think it's worth noting because it's really, really cool. It's been in the making for a little less than a year, or about a year. 13 different artists. It was curated by Emlo. It's called Collab Cooking. There's it's a bunch of editions across different chains, but the idea was we would each make a piece, and then the next person after that would use the previous piece as inspiration to kick off their piece, and so on. I just think it was a lot of fun to do. Seeing where people took it. Look at that.
It's like an art train.
It is.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. You've got like so many
cool.
talented people in there.
Yeah. You're the beginning of this one. Is
I
there
am.
13 different beginnings?
So no, there's not 13 different beginnings.
Okay.
It was it's hard enough to do
Just
one
checking,
project.
Just checking. Yeah. Well, you said each person did one. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, I didn't use inspiration from anybody. I did the first one just to get it kicked off. Yeah, but Nuclear Samurai
And
did
that was
one.
the source of it all.
No, I just like the idea of each.
No credit.
Like, if you did it again, you could have Samurai be the start, and then everyone.
That would be so cool, and then I would
keep doing the loop.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Pantano, Julia Fuzzi, Sarah Bauman, Huddle France, yep. And then that's always cool too, because like it was like how can how could he put this into his style, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
Tistan came in and did this kind of crazy thing, and had it come flying out. Just very very much him. Brutal did this, abstract take, which dovetailed beautifully into Alex doing this.
Sweet.
And then Black AI just came in and made it all dark and cool. And WG Meats made his piece, which also was cool. And then Delta Sauce kind of like took the inspo with the color scheme and pulled that back. And brought it into that vibe. And then Nuclear Samurai brought it home with this piece that kind of went into a calm state. But I'm really proud of it. I'm really excited that it exists. We've had some really cool collectors pick it up. It's available. It'll be a part of the links. But what better way to show off 13 different artists?
It's a great one, and it's similar to the Rio Residency one where they're all in one NFT. And you kind of choose which one. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So they're all in the same contract. They're all in the same Transient Labs backed. I believe it's a doppelganger. Yeah. And so the collector can go and just like cycle through or pick which one they want to display. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats, dude. Yeah, it looks awesome.
Thank you. And thank you, Shavonne, for being here today. Before we go, obviously people should go sign up on the Meet Eva here. Meet Eva. I keep saying Ava. Meet Eva here on the website. But other than that, do you want to wrap it up in terms of what do you want to plug? What else you got going?
I have nothing else going. This project is consuming my life. But yeah, like I hope people want to follow the project, like follow her on Instagram, and my hope is for the next few months to get her into as many like venues and location exhibitions as much as possible around the world, and just sharing so people know where this project is planning to go. After a few months that she's live, I'm actually going to pause her, and I'm going to wait until a few years after that to see where AI is at and bring her back to that standard of where AI is at. So I can almost like capture both what accessible AI technology is then, and also what does society view on AI then too, right? Because right now there's a lot of fear. In 2 years' time, 3 years' time, where AI is really part of our lives. Like, is the fear still there, or have people just accepted it? So like, there's a lot of plans I have for this project, but in the meantime, I don't have a life. So this is all I'm doing. So if people want to follow it, please, thank you.
I think that's wonderful, though. I think that's cool that you have, such a broad plan, thinking forward. I think this is also just, I've said it before, but this speaks to what happens when you trust in a creator and you can help them live that creative life by supporting them in ways that allow them the time to explore and be flexible and come up with really cool stuff, and then push boundaries and make things that make us think. So, yeah, this is really cool.
One more thing. So like every single post that goes on Instagram, it is also minted on Zora as on-chain records. So like if people want to collect them, it's like, I view it very much like postcards. I don't even call them like artworks. They're just on-chain records. So like you want to show that you were there when she's got live, when she's posting, and so for me, because also the main medium of this whole project is Instagram, which is a centralized place. And for me, I was like, I don't know if they'll suspend me one day or something. I'm just going to put it on chain just in case. So that's also out there. So if people want to support, that's also one way to do it, but like no pressure. Just enjoy the project.
That's cool. Very cool. All right. Well,
such a pleasure to have you.
It really was.
Having me.
This was wonderful. A lot of really good insight. And thank you to everybody out there who watched. We look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Go check out our Art First Twitter account. We will post links to all these things, wonderful artworks. Go support Shavonne and support all the other artists that we feature. And I guess, we will just catch you in the next one. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.